does. When the subconscious believes something, how does it act once you believe this thought? It filters reality. How does it act once you believe this thought? It filters reality, okay, based upon what you believe. Okay, so it filters out everything else, and it leaves, it focuses, it centers on what you believe. So let's say that thought was, I'm not good enough, right? If you believe that, if you're not good enough, right, for whatever it is, then your subconscious will filter out the good stuff, and you'll only be left with that, and that's what you will focus on. And that's where the actions come from. That's where the paradigm gets built from. It gets built from your core beliefs, okay? Now, the subconscious also creates automatic responses. It controls your habits, emotional triggers, reflexes, things like that. It shapes your identity and self-image, okay? So it starts to, if you don't believe you're good enough, it starts to confirm this. It starts to give you evidence of it, okay? It'll start to have you believe it more, okay? So this is what it does. So in other words, if you believe that belief, what it does is it pushes everything else out, and it leaves you just with that belief, okay? So it also attracts experiences based upon what you believe. So if you believe you're poor, for example, it will keep attracting circumstances that will take from you. It will keep attracting circumstances that leave you without money. Okay, it could be in the form of bills. It could be in the form of you just spending recklessly, just, for the sake of spending kind of thing. It could be a variety of things, but it will be actions that will get you to this result or this belief in the subconscious. Okay, now it reinforces itself with evidence. It'll support. It's called confirmation bias. So it will start to confirm. It will start to show you, like, see, all the evidence points to you're not good enough. You see, that kind of thing, right? Okay. So now, how do you reprogram the subconscious? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. Now, the fastest way to get rid of negative beliefs or negativity or negative feelings is the vocalization process, where we hold straight tones and we produce them with strength. That begins to calm you. Why? Because your natural state is calm. Your natural state is calm. But what happens is the negativity, right? All these negative thoughts, all these negative circumstances that end up in negative beliefs in the subconscious, those are the things that cloud your reality. So sometimes you feel like you're not confident. Sometimes you feel like you're not good enough. But that's not really the truth. The truth is it's just buried underneath all that negativity. Now, we're going to take a look at the subconscious as we further dive into it and explain it to you. We're also going to take a look at the subconscious and why people always feel like it's negative, okay? Like, why does it favor negativity? I get this all the time with my clients. Now, my clients are professionals. I have doctors, I have nurses, I have attorneys, people like that. And these people are what I call high performance professionals because they deal with a lot of people. They're either responsible for a lot of people. My doctors are responsible for their clients. My nurses are responsible for a lot of people. I have a nurse supervisor that's responsible for a lot of nurses. So they have great responsibilities. They don't have time to mess around with little details. They don't have time to mess around with small things. Good morning. Hi, Eamon. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you again. Thank you. You have a nurse getting what? Finish your thought. I'll be back. Autocorrect? Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. So anyway, so why does the subconscious feel like it favors the negative all the time? What's that all about? Well, see, I when I start teaching these people, right, and I start, I'm a mindset coach, right? So once I start teaching them mindset, they go like, how come it's so easy to go back to the bad habits? Why is it so easy for the subconscious to remember the bad stuff, to reproduce the bad stuff. So the subconscious learns in repetition. Okay. Now, when the subconscious learns in repetition, it filters out the positivity if it's negative. Now the focus is on the negative. Okay. But let's say you change that pattern. Let's say you change that habit. Now you install a good habit. Now you replace it with a good habit. Okay. Now, if you don't maintain or let's say provide maintenance to your subconscious, okay, and let me show you what maintenance looks like. Okay, so this is what maintenance looks like. These are affirmations. This is not meditation. This is not journaling. But yeah, okay. So this is what maintenance to the subconscious looks like. It's continuous affirmations. Okay, now I have about 12 of those books in storage. And I keep them over the years because it's fun to go back and look and go, wow, yeah, that happened. And I wrote an intention about that and then that happened. So it's fun to see, right? So I keep them. But anyway, so the reason why is that when you stop doing something, let's say you develop a positive habit and then let's say you stop. Or let's say you start doing the opposite. Let's use a diet, for example, because I've been on a lot of diets. Okay, so I used to do high protein diets all the time. In fact, now I'm a carnivore, but I used to just go on diets. So I used to drop like 40 pounds, right? And then guess what? Your brain goes, well, now that you're rational, your left hemisphere of the brain, okay, logically you think, well, I've lost 40 pounds, so maybe I can have a dessert. Maybe I can have some starch. Maybe I can have some sugar. And guess what happens? Now you're going against the diet part, right? Now you're going over here. Now you're indulging. Guess what? That becomes a habit. And when that becomes a habit, what happens? Well, now you're working against this. You're working against your achievement. Okay? So now you're over here on this side of the street. Instead of being on a diet, now you're over here snacking. Now you're over here making allowances. Now you have relaxed your self-discipline. And what happens? You start gaining weight. You start putting the weight back on. Why? Because you have allowed. So what's wrong with having a snack? Well, nothing's wrong with having a snack, but you're dealing with your subconscious, so it becomes a habit. Okay, so what happens is you have that first snack, and then that left brain rationale goes, well, maybe I can have one more, and then you have another one, and then pretty soon it's like, well, do it again. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. They can do that. Okay, but it's when you say self-discipline, then people get defensive, right? People like shut it out like that. No, I don't think I want to do that. That sounds hard. Okay. But you want to have people feeling open, because open is the only way a human being is receptive. Okay, so you want to have people open. You want to become open as well. So is the subconscious biased towards negativity? No. No, it's not. It's neutral. But it seems like it. Okay? Now, the reason why it seems to favor negativity or negative things is because of survival-based wiring, okay? Primitive brain influence, okay? What am I talking about? Emotional intensity equals a stronger imprint. Now we're talking about the limbic system, but we'll get there in a second, okay? But the reasons why, okay? Another reason, repetition of negative messages. Okay, so that's negative self-talk. So when you start talking about yourself negatively, it affects your subconscious. Why? Because it makes you repeat it. The subconscious learns a repetition, and then it repeats in repetition, and it also filters out everything that's not concerned with the belief, the principal belief. So if maybe, you think about a job and you go, I'm not good enough for that job, or I don't have the education for that job. If that's the belief you have, your negative self-talk will remind you of that. Your negative self-talk will continue to reinforce the subconscious beliefs. Okay, so repetition of negative messages is a real thing. So don't tell yourself bad stuff about yourself. Ignore it. Let go. Release. Okay, don't engage. Don't engage with those thoughts. Now, the subconscious mind is neutral. It doesn't judge. It can't distinguish fantasy from reality. Okay, it doesn't filter good from bad because it doesn't know the difference. It only knows what you tell it. It only knows the story that you tell your subconscious. That's all it knows. Okay? So, how do you program it more positively? Well, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Okay? Add to that empowering self-talk. Talk good about yourself to yourself. Look in the mirror. Use the mirror. Your subconscious recognizes your image over everyone else because it's seen it so many times, more than everyone else. It recognizes your voice more than everyone else. Start empowering yourself when you look in the mirror. Don't just look in the mirror and, okay, I don't have stuff on my face, okay, I'm good, and then leave the house. Empower yourself. Give yourself messages. Okay? Speaking to yourself is not considered crazy. Okay, it's not. It's empowering. Okay, but not too many people are willing to face themselves in the mirror. And that's a complex. That's a complex within itself. Gratitude practices. High frequency emotions. What are the high frequency emotions? Okay, we discuss this all the time. From the very top, you have love. Love is the highest positive emotion. Down from love, we have love, peace, gratitude, joy, passion, excitement, enthusiasm, hope, and satisfaction. Those are the positive emotions, the highest frequency positive emotions. So focus on those. If it's not part of those, it's not part of love. And you want to focus on that because it's important. It will bring you good stuff in your life. Trust me. It's done it over and over and over for me. And my life was going pretty good up until my research in 2007. It was going pretty good. Everything started turning around in 1999, but I had no idea why. I had no idea. In 2007, after I started doing research, I found out why. And I'm like, oh, this is what's going on, right? And so after I did the research, I'm like, okay, this is why. And then what I started doing is I started a gratitude practice. I started doing these things. This morning I did a 44-minute meditation. I've been doing it for 6 days now. So this is day number 6. Okay, now for most people, 5 minutes of meditation, 5 to 10 minutes is a challenge. It's a huge challenge. But I'm here to say you can do it. Okay, when I first did my first 5-minute meditation, I broke the meditation. I got up and oh man, I could be using my time washing dishes or doing the laundry or, cleaning the yard or something, right? I'm wasting time. But that's because today, in today's world, everybody's scrolling, everybody's doing this. It's called stimulus. And because you're always stimulated, you're always getting those dopamine hits. Okay? People have become dopamine junkies. And because you're getting dopamine hits, it's very hard to sit still. And all you have to do is be still. I'm currently doing a guided meditation, but all you need to do is really be still 5 to 10 minutes a day. Okay, this will help the negativity settle and the awareness increase. Okay, now back to the subconscious. So the subconscious, right, is biased towards negativity only because of the fight or flight syndrome. Okay, this is the emotional brain, your limbic system. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the limbic system so that you understand really the physiology of why this happens. A lot of people are stuck in negativity. A lot of people are stuck in fear and anxiety, and they don't know why it happens because they haven't studied this. So I'm going to teach you today. What happens is they go to somebody else to take care of their problem. They go to a psychologist, they go to a psychiatrist, and then they think something's wrong. Pretty soon they're taking medicine, pretty soon, and then they get the side effects, and it kind of just goes from there. Now, I'm not demonizing the medical industrial complex, although it's a thing. Okay, but what I am saying is there's a certain degree to which most of us can help ourselves, where you don't need to spend that money, where you don't need to see those people. Now, if you have a really severe problem or a really severe case, yes, with organic problems, you do need medication. With certain conditions, you do need certain degrees of PTSD, you do need therapy. Okay, so we're not speaking against therapy or anything like that. Okay, we're trying to show you how to help you easily by yourself. Affirmations, meditation, vocal is the answer. Okay, this doesn't have to do with the church. This has to do with the temple. Your body is the temple. Okay, you're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here. These things just help you pick things up. You know, for me, it helps me with my pen. Where's my pen? I always have to look for my pen, my favorite pen, like this, okay? So these things right here will write for me. But there's a separation between the body and the spirit. The spirit lives in here. That's the energy in here. The spirit makes the decisions for the body. The spirit rules over the body all day long. So now let's talk about the subconscious, because that's where manifestation happens. You know, people are talking about manifestation like it's magic. Well, oh, I just wished for this, and then boom, there it was. Okay, some of those things you can do like that. Most things require action and choices result in outcomes. Okay, so let's talk about why the subconscious favors or seems to favor negativity. Your subconscious works closely with the limbic system, okay? It's the emotional brain. The limbic system triggers the fight or flight response. So let's talk about the limbic system for a little while, okay? So it's the brain's emotional and survival control center, okay? So if something's gonna kill you, if there's a bear close by and you spot the bear, your limbic system goes into action, okay? Now this is a real thing. So the amygdala detects the threats and triggers. Fear, aggression, all of that. It will detect it. Now the hippocampus processes memory, especially emotional memory. And this is where the trauma gets stored, okay? Emotional memory. So trauma, the definition of trauma is a strong emotional event that happens. And that's why we say, well, so-and-so was traumatized, because there's a strong emotional event that was negative that happened. And that's what trauma is. So the hippocampus is responsible for that part, okay? Now the hypothalamus controls the body's stress response, the fight or flight, okay? When to run. Now the thalamus relays sensory data, sensory input, okay? And this all happens instantaneously in the human being. There's no time to sit down and figure this out. There's no time to, you know, go, okay, well, let me see if the bear is a threat. Is the bear really a threat? Your brain doesn't do that, okay? The prefrontal cortex, okay, so we call it right, when we relate it to how computers are done, right, we call it, what do we call it? It's your processor, okay? This is the one that processes all the thoughts, okay? We also refer to it as the gatekeeper, because when you dismiss thoughts from the prefrontal cortex, you don't attach to them. You say stop, When you get in a negative thought, stop and then focus on something else. Refocus, reframe, right? Okay. So this is your operating system. Your subconscious is your hard drive where the programs are stored. And the programs get stored in there. When you keep thinking about the same thing, it goes into your subconscious. Now, the limbic system will shut off your logical thought. It'll shut it off because you don't have time to think. You have to run. Okay? When you see the bear, you have to run. It's a survival thing. So you don't think, you just go. So the prefrontal cortex is shut off. And you run. Or you respond, however you respond in that instant. But that's what it's about. There's no time to sit and think it out. Okay? So why is this important? Well, when your brain, when your limbic system perceives a threat, what happens? Well, all of these things run. Everything starts. It'll activate your limbic system because it's an emotional threat. It's something that you feel is wrong. The majority of my clients are women. They tell me these things all the time. You know, I just felt there was something wrong with that guy. You know, I walked in the room and I knew something was wrong. And you know what? Something wrong happened. Because their limbic systems are sharpened. Remember when we were talking about women and awareness the other day? Because they're engineered to be mama bears. So they have a heightened sense of awareness. Their limbic system is sharp. It's a high-functioning machine. So when this happens, when there's an emotional threat, it starts with the thought, right? Remember, first the thought, then the emotion. That emotion is going to be related to the thought. If the thought is an emotional threat, the feeling is an emotional threat, the limbic system goes into play, and automatically you start to feel like this is a negative event, even though it may not be. So what's the cure? What's the cure with this? Well, you need to reframe the thoughts. Reframe, refocus. Okay? Now, there's therapies for this. And this is why those feelings that come from the subconscious memory, right, feel like it's negative. Why is it always negative? It's not always negative. But because you are wired for survival, humans are wired for survival. Women more than men. Because they raise young. So sometimes the thought is not legit. Sometimes it appears to be that happened a while ago, but it's really not. But you get the same feeling. This is why. It's your limbic system. And you don't know why, because your logic is shut off. Your prefrontal cortex is bypassed in that instance. So, patience is one thing, okay? Saying stop is another way to stop the feeling. Then you have to re-examine things. You have to be patient. You have to use your awareness. Now, if your mind is cluttered with negativity, negative emotions, okay, let's go over the negative emotions real quick from top to bottom. Worry, irritation, disappointment, criticism, anger, hate, boredom, envy, despair, grief, guilt, fear, and shame. Shame and fear. Fear is at the bottom. Fear is at the root of every negative emotion. Love is at the top of every positive emotion that begins with satisfaction. So if your negative emotions are all rooted in fear, when you start to feel fear, when you start to feel that negativity, even if it's worry, you're worried about something, there's fear involved. That's the most minor one, fear. And if you're worried about something, there's some fear present. If there's some fear present, sometimes it will just bypass your prefrontal cortex. It'll just bypass it. So there's no logic involved. There's only feeling involved. Feeling and judgment. Feeling going, oh, this is that bad thing again. Judgment, yeah, bad. And your limbic system takes over. And now you're in fight or flight. But it's not a physical threat. It's not like the bear. It's not like when you see a bear and you just, take off, right? It's when you think something that happens. And this is why sometimes the subconscious can be perceived to favor negativity, but it's really not. It's primal wiring. That's what it is. So it leans that way sometimes, but your subconscious is neutral. So you can change these things. You can change these fears. The problem with human beings is we don't stop long enough to fix it. We don't pause and go, oh, you know what? Okay, I need to fix this. This needs to go away. We know it's a problem. We don't always want to fix it because, well, it's going to take us away from the bingo game. It's going to take us away from surfing. It's going to take us away from skiing. It's going to take us away from partying, right? There's going to be a little work. I've lived simultaneous careers. I still do. I still have simultaneous careers. So I'm in 3 or 4 places a week doing different things. But I didn't do this to become a billionaire. I did this for freedom. And I did this to give my brain a job because I have ADHD. If you have ADHD, you feel me. You already know. If you have a child with ADHD, please tell them it's a blessing, not a curse. Depends on how you use it. If you let it get away from you, if you let it control you and you don't control it, then you have a problem. Good morning, Ara. Good morning. If you control it, just know that all you need to do is feed it. Feed it work. Keep it busy. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. Keep your mind busy. Give it a job. If you have ADHD, you have a mind on steroids. It's a little bit of primal wiring. It's a little bit of the limbic system. But it's also the opposite. So like I said, when you're on a diet, you know, I was on a diet, I lost 40 pounds one time, right? And then I go, well, I'll just have rice tonight. That's how it started. That's how it started. I'll just have rice tonight. And then the next day, oh, I'll just have rice for breakfast. Okay. Next day, I'll just, yeah, I can have rice tonight. It's only been 2 days, right? And I was on my way back to the bad habit, and pretty soon I was here. Pretty soon I was here. This is not the subconscious favoring negativity. Once you start repeating, your subconscious goes, oh, this is what we're doing? It's that simple. You're a very sensitive being as a human. I don't care if you're a guy, girl, whatever. You're sensitive. You pick up on things very, very easily because you're a human. So once you do something a couple of times, it goes in your subconscious. And that could be a good habit. Good habits are easy. I get into good habits really, really easy. I form my routines very, very easily. And then some days I go, I just don't want to do anything. You know, like that Bruno Mars song, right? And some days I just don't do anything. I say, okay, I'm gonna take a break tomorrow. I'm just gonna sleep tomorrow, and that's all I do. Because I have ADHD and my brain just goes into overdrive all the time. Now, if you have a regular brain, then you don't need to do that. If you have a regular brain, then you can operate more normally. I'm just saying for me, okay, my brain goes into overdrive. So I have to turn it off once in a while. I have to shut it down, go to bed, okay, or read a book or something other than work. But when you're putting habits into your subconscious, be mindful, okay? We're so distracted. We're so distracted nowadays, right? Everybody's in here. Everybody's scrolling, okay? I'm in here working. I don't really have time to scroll. I'm in here working. For me, it's a tool, okay? But still, I get distracted just like everybody else. So I understand. But when you get distracted into this thing, okay, or into television, or into Netflix, or into whatever you get distracted into, mindful and aware that you're being distracted. Some people don't know they're being distracted. That's how badly they're distracted. They're so distracted, they're unaware that they're actually distracted. They think that this is normal, this is my life, this is what goes on, this is how I am. That's not how you are. People think they're forgetful. Oh, I can't remember, I have trouble remembering. No, you remember everything. Your subconscious takes notes of everything. You get distracted is what's going on. Okay? So when you get distracted, pull yourself back. Or just remind yourself that you're being distracted. So many people don't understand that they're being distracted more than anything else. So when you get distracted, that includes influence. Okay, the influencers, they call them influencers for a reason. You're being influenced by thousands of things every day. Tens of thousands of things every day. You get about 80,000 thoughts a day. That's how much you're being distracted into different things. Now your eyes pull you into a different reality. Your eyes will have you focus on the new car or the hot car. Now you're all about the car. Now your reticular activating system in your brainstem filters out everything else. Why? Because you're focused on the car. The red convertible, the red BMW convertible. And then what happens? You start seeing these convertibles all over the place. And you go, wow, I never knew there were that many BMW red convertibles. I didn't realize that. Is it a phenomenon? No, it's the way you're engineered. You're a human being. The reticular activating system helps you manifest your goals, or let's say accomplish your goals. Somebody told me manifestation when I first started practicing this, and I just knew it as manifestation back in 2007. Before I realized that it was actually subconscious training. Church people were telling me it was demonic. Well, that's demonic, I'm like, what? Yeah, it's demonic. I'm like, no, it's not demonic. It's your subconscious. Okay? Just so you know, just so you're clear, just so you have clarity, so you're aware. There's so many things being told to so many people, right? But when you hear about this manifestation from an influencer, what's your first thing? What's the first thing you see? Oh, they have a package to sell you. They have a course to sell you. They have a how-to to sell you. I have nothing to sell you. That's not why I'm doing this. Is not a webinar. This is a giftinar, whatever. I'm here giving. I'm telling you how to do this thing. It's easy. It's not difficult, but you have to do repetition. You have to do consistency. You have to do it every day. But if you do it every day, you're going to feel a shift in 2 weeks. In 63 days, it becomes a habit. In 63 days. When you use expletives towards another person, your subconscious doesn't know if you're talking to them or if you're talking to yourself. And then you wonder why you have a complex, why you have low self-esteem or lower self-esteem, or why you feel bad about yourself. And then the negative self-talk happens, and that reinforces the feeling. And then it goes into your subconscious, and your subconscious starts to verify these things and filter out everything else. And now you're plagued with these negative thoughts that bring negative emotions that result in low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, all of these things. But you don't know why. Because it's all happening under the radar in your subconscious. That's why they call it subconscious. It's not the frontal lobe of your brain. The subconscious is a culmination of all of your senses. Everything you speak, everything you hear, everything you touch. But that's why the kingdom is in here. That's why God works in here. Because as you take the steps, the doors begin to open. Right? And things that you didn't think was possible begin to happen. Because there is the conscious, the subconscious, and superconscious. The superconscious, we will give God that label. Because everybody believes differently. I'm not here to tell you how to believe. There is only the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. The superconscious works with the subconscious. God works with the subconscious. Source works with the subconscious. Jesus Christ works with the subconscious. Christ consciousness, if you want to say it that way. If you want to say the unseen, if you want to say infinite intelligence, all of those things. But that's what this is. When you tap into that, doesn't mean you have to read a Bible or the Quran or the Torah or the Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't mean that.